kids, welcome back to another episode of Todd's House of Speed. So today we're going to have a little game, we're going to play a little game. We're going to say, what's under the pirate blanket? Maybe some booty, I don't know. But anyway, so 1, 2, 3. I know, it's crazy, right? My shop foreman, he was surprised too. So today what we're going to do, so we have some custom wheels here, and we're going to talk about a little bit about wheel selection and a couple of areas in wheel selection that, a couple of areas in wheel selection that maybe some people are confused on. And the market is definitely different. So I'm going to talk about the market today, or actually the lack of wheels. Pre-pandemic versus right now. Pricing, availability, because it's important, okay? So we're going to bring in the car, my daily driver. I'm going to put these on, and then we're going to talk about the wheels, all right? We're getting the ugly off the outside and the slow on the inside. That's our motto. And then today, we're definitely getting the ugly off the outside with these, all right? Stay tuned.
Walking the dog. Guess who walking the dog? If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you.
Okay, so this is my daily driver. This is a 2008 BMW 528xi. It's an E60. It is if BMW made a truck, man, this would be it. This thing hauls parts. I use it for everything. It's all-wheel drive. It's got the basic 6-cylinder in it, automatic, nothing special, but it's dead nuts reliable. And I've had this car for a long time. It's got over 250,000 on it. So you can see it, well, it looks better than what it's looking today because it's pretty dirty. That's okay. As I say, we're going to get the ugly off of it. So one of the things is, because it's my daily driver, you can see it's already got a set of custom wheels, aftermarket wheels on it. And I've hit so many potholes in my travels, it's almost unavoidable. And then I had a slight accident where somebody ran me off a side road early in the morning, and I hit, man, I don't know what I hit, but it definitely like flattened the tire on the right front. And so the short story is, all the wheels on this are pretty much square, like Fred Flintstone, and it rides like it. So I decided to get these wheels. These are going to be that we just talked about. Matter of fact, you can see I just took the cover off of them. These are aftermarket wheels. These are by a company named Motive. And these were basically essentially the cheapest, best looking wheels that there was a close enough fit. So today, what we're going to do, I'm not going to be putting the wheels on the car in front of you today. What I'm going to be talking about is the market, how the market has changed, the selection has changed, the price has definitely changed big time since pre-pandemic versus now. And then we're going to talk about fitment, okay? So stay tuned. I think you'll find it interesting, okay? So today we're going to talk about some really important factor or impact that shipping has had offshore with wheel company, well, anything really, parts. Just like you don't have to look too far. So it's no secret that a lot of these wheels are made offshore, and offshore could be China, it could be, well, just pick something. So it's interesting because there's definitely one thing that has, I think, from my research, has impacted that selection, and so a lot of these companies have gone out of business more than anything, okay, during the pandemic. Okay, so let's talk March 2020. So these are shipping containers, 40 feet, okay? So March 2020, just about the time the pandemic hit, So a 40-foot shipping container, man, you can put a whole lot of wheels in a shipping container, I promise you. So this is a real research. This is not somebody typing in their mama's basement off the, in the interwebs. Real research, real deal, real number. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what it costs, one way. So a 40-foot container from the US to China or back was $1,200. And like I said, you can put a whole lot of wheels in a 40-foot container, okay? So that's what it costs then. Now let's go. And we're gonna go 2021, okay, because I ran out. All right, so September 2021, so that's not too much time right there between, what is it, a year and 6 months? I don't even know if that much, just off the top of my head. So I'm gonna give like just a second. Everybody guess what it costs to ship the same container, okay? I'll play some like, I don't know, Jeopardy music, all right? Okay, enough. Okay, 1,200, add a 0. That's a real number. Believe it or not, in March 2020, just as the pandemic hit, the average cost to ship that container either back to China or from China to here, $1,200. September, so less than a year and a half later, $12,000, so add a 0, and that's a real number. And that's just like crazy. So if you're a manufacturer and you're importing wheels and you're or exporting, whatever the deal is, you got to ship it. And you would say, well, why is the cost literally 10 times more? It's 10 times more because of demand went up and the bottleneck at the ports. It's just supply and demand. That's all. That's the most simple explanation, and there's a larger explanation. So the whole thing is, if I'm somebody in the US and I'm a company and I've agreed to purchase wheels on a contract from XYZ in China, or it could be India, it could be Pakistan, it doesn't matter. But the whole thing is, all of a sudden, instead of $1,200 for a whole lot of a 40-foot container, it's $12,000. And I'm sure it's probably even more now. So what happened is, wheels like what's on this car right now, that company is really not even in business anymore. And so the selection pre-pandemic, man, I'm gonna tell you, you could look up on the old interwebs, and we'll put this down. You could look up on the interwebs, and if you could think of a wheel design, I don't care if you had a tuner car, you had drag car, a classic, if you could think of a design, chances are somebody had something really close. I mean, it was like almost too many to pick from. And because of the impact here, what's happened is, I mean, how can you sell a wheel if your cost to ship it went up 10 times? I mean, that might be all your profit. And so a lot of these companies may have been actually really small and just on a budget, on a shoestring, relying on volume. But these wheels, that company's out of business. And a lot of these companies, well, a whole lot of them are out of business. That's just reality. And then the other part of it is the companies that are in business, it's costing more. Shocker. So that's the explanation of what's going on here, and that's the short explanation of why. So, so these wheels right here, I ended up paying, it was about, I got a steal on them, really. I don't know if they were closeout or not, but I got these off of online retailer. I think it was about $630 delivered, and that was a steal. So these are not exactly fit the car. They're close enough, and I'm going to show you what a trick you can do, and we're going to talk about fitment. Okay, so enough on this, but you can see why when you go and look at wheels, there's a whole lot less selection, and it costs a whole lot more money. The ones that are still in business. Okay, so that's the short version of that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about fitment, and we're going to talk about what's different here and what some people miss. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about fitment. So for sure, we know that through the shipping costs and everything, a lot of companies going out of business. So not only the wheel selection, the styles available, it's just like not that many. I mean, like, I don't know, a tenth. I don't know what number it is, but it's a lot less for whatever you like. It's the fitment. So sometimes you have to make a compromise, and that's what we're going to talk today. The whole point of this is to a workaround for a selection that's close to fitting, and I'm going to show you a trick that maybe some people are not aware of, and certainly a fitment that a lot of people don't consider. Okay, so we're going to talk about 5 things today, and we're talking about wheel fitment. And most people only do the first 2 or 3, maybe 3 for sure, but they leave the last 2. All right, so we're going to talk about that today, and this is in the order when people think about wheels. I'm telling them. Okay, so whether you're a muscle car, tuner car, vintage car, whatever, the first thing people think about, okay, I want a wheel. And I'll tell you, man, wheels make the biggest difference. I mean, I can't think of any like cost, return on investment, whatever you want to say. It's like the biggest impact for, I would say in most cases, the least amount of money. The single biggest, it's always been that way. Man, you put a different set of wheels in your car and it definitely, I mean, even if they're $2,000, I mean, the way it looks, the way it handles, anyway. So, fitment. So let's talk about fitment. First thing that people think about, diameter, okay? All right, diameter, how big they are, right? So the next thing, all right, great. So these actually are 17s in this case. All right, so that's what's on the car right now, 17. So that's the first thing people think about. Okay, how big is the wheel? Next thing is width. And then the third thing is bolt pattern. Okay, and in this case, on this car, it's 5 low, that's the first number, by 120 millimeters, okay? Most European cars, even some domestic cars, are on a metric scale, but basically it's 5 lug, and that's center to center. So let's talk about that. People may not know exactly what that means. So, of course, I just said 5 lugs, there's 5 holes, right? That's the first thing, and 120 millimeters. So some people may not know, but essentially what we're talking about here is the center of the bolt to the center of the bolt hole this way. So it can be this way, this way, this way, but across from each other, all right? So in BMW, in this case, especially on this series, it's 5 by 120, which is pretty common for BMWs. But here's the 2 other measurements that people either don't understand or maybe take for granted. Back spacing. Okay, so back spacing, what that is basically your rim. Let me just draw it. This is your rim, and it's where the hub is located. So this is the amount, this is inside the car. This is how much back spacing or off center. So let me do this. In this case, these wheels are, I think, actually let me look. So the back spacing on this, the spec is 40 millimeters off center. That's just basically what it means. And that's really close to what matter of fact, I think that's exactly what the original wheels are. And so if you are looking at back spacing on your wheels, if you look at it, you can find that information online. So whatever kind of car you have, out of muscle car, tuner, it doesn't matter, but the original back spacing, so you can get an idea of really where the rim is going to sit in relationship to the wheel. All right, so that's the quick and dirty version of that. Now, let me go up here and put 7.5. All right, so I just put 7.5 up here. That's what these are. So here's the one thing that people miss. This is, of course, these are all important, all right? But the one thing, and this is because why I talked about a lot of companies went out of business and selection is less, you may have to compromise, okay? So we're gonna talk about one thing is the hub bore. Okay, so what do I mean by hub bore? So let's turn these around. And you can see, so the hub bore is right here in the center of the wheel. So the specification on these, and then let's go look. So you can see the center bore, the hub bore, that's what CB is, center bore is 73.1. So then, but BMW's, this car, okay, so this is where this becomes important. So the hub bore should match the hub coming out of whatever's on the vehicle. So the BMW is 72.6, and you can see, well, there's a difference here. So why would that make a difference? Why? Because you would say, if somebody looked at this and say, well, Todd, the hub bore of the wheel is larger, so it'll fit. Well, it fits, but it doesn't fit. You want your hub bore of the wheel to be the same as the hub coming out, because what that gives us is HubCentric. Let's see, let me just write this hub. Okay, so what do I mean by, so what are we talking about when we say HubCentric? So here's the brief thing. You want the hub bore, the wheel bore, the center bore to match exactly of the inside diameter. Okay, we're looking at it right here, the inside. And then your hub coming out of your spindle, that basically the outside diameter should be like right on the money. And what that does is, that makes the wheel hub-centric. So when you put the wheel up there, when those two match, it's a slip fit over, and this is what's the important part, that is what centers the wheel. That is what makes it hub-centric. So it is basically riding on, and that's the purpose of it all, is that the wheel is hub-centric, so radially it's exact, or it runs true, because well, we talk about the bolt pattern up here, the bolts are just the clamping force, okay? That's what holds the wheel on, but what centers the wheel is being hub-centric, okay? So you can see we've got a problem here. Well, not really a problem, but again, these wheels were the closest I could get, these were what I was looking for, but all of these lined up, but what didn't line up is the hub bore of the wheel. So what do? Well, before the pandemic, you would just go to like another wheel manufacturer. I mean, there were so many, you could eventually find exactly what you wanted. But that's not so much the case. There's just less players. So let me show you. So here's the magic box. So how do we make this up? So obviously the hub bore is larger. That's the most important thing. So if the hub bore is smaller than your spindle, short of machining it, and that's going to be expensive. That's going to be very expensive. Unless you have a vintage set of wheels or something, you can machine the hub bore, but the wheels need to be hub-centric so they run true, radially run true. So in my box here, I've got the difference to make these hub-centric. So these are hub-centric rings. Okay, there's not much to it because there's so little difference here. But basically what this is going to do, we're going to put these in the wheel, or put them on the spindle, and these are going to make up the difference, and it's not much. You can see, it's like, in this case, they're super thin. So where did I get these? First of all, actually I got these off Amazon. You can get your Google machine out and you can put hub bore spacers and in the OD and then the ID. So this is going to make up the difference on the hub coming out and then the larger bore. So a lot of people don't take these, and man, these were nothing. These were, I think, $15 or something like that. But be careful who you order them from, because you don't want plastic. These are aluminum, that's fine. I mean, the wheel's aluminum. So these are the secret, really, is hub bore spacers, is making the wheel run true, okay? So that's really what I want to talk about today is, again, pre-2020, March 2020, we put up, I mean, it's like there were so many players, you could find exactly the wheel, and then there just aren't hardly, there's nowhere near the number anymore. So this is the workaround. So this wheel is not quite as wide. These wheels are a little bit narrower, but that's fine. These are 8-inch wheels, 8-inch wide, and these are 7.5, so that's a 1/4 inch on each side. That's about as much as you want to go. And so again, it was a compromise. But these wheels look pretty good. They were cheap enough, and how I made up the difference on the last is the hub set to make them HubCentric, to make these wheels, is the HubCentric rings. So that's really my tip today, okay? So be careful when you're selecting it, be careful who you're buying them from, and just know that you're not stuck. So if you meet the diameter and the width is what you want, or at least close enough, and then of course the bolt pattern has to be able to fit, right? And then the back spacing or offset, and then last but not least, but really probably just as important to make the wheel run true, that there's no vibration. I don't care if you got a drag car, it doesn't matter, the wheel has to run true. And how you're going to do it is you're going to make up the difference in this case with these, okay? So that's just a tech tip, and that's how you make basically a cheap set of wheels fit your application. So please like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions, especially about what we just talked about here. The whole point of this is you don't necessarily always have to spend a lot of money. There are some workarounds. There's certainly no workaround for the bolt pattern, pretty much. But really is the hub bore and to make that wheel HubCentric. Okay, so that's my tech tip today. Pay very careful attention to the wheels. You can use different wheels. Just make sure that the hub bore and the spindle bore, the hub coming out, the center bore, that you can make the difference up if it's larger. If you can't, if it's smaller, you're going to have a machine. So anyway, all right. So that's my tech tip today, and that's where we're going to get the ugly off when we get our wheels, and they do look pretty good. I tend to like a 5-spoke wheel. You can see that's what's on it right now, a similar style. So these are round, those are Flintstone. So, okay, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. I really appreciate it. Keep the channel going. All right, see ya.